Hello everyone and welcome to the Humanoid Encounters Iceberg. Now, right before I dive into this iceberg, there's actually 4 different types of classes that the iceberg lists, and including those are cryptids, aliens, paranormal entities, mixed, and other. I'm actually not too sure what it means by other, but I guess we'll use some context clues to find out. Now, I'm actually going to include this video with 2 parts because there's a lot on this iceberg, so I'm going to do half on this one, and then get to the more obscure stuff in part 2. I will actually also be color coding this iceberg because, the different classes. Well, let's jump right in to the surface. When it comes to humanoid encounters, Bigfoot, or known as Sasquatch, is probably the most popular to this day. He's often described as a large, muscular, ape or human-like creature covered in black, dark brown, or dark reddish hair. There are a lot of pictures, video and audio recordings, even hair samples, and apparently cast of large footprints, but most of this evidence has since been identified as hoaxes or misidentification. Even scientists do not find any of the remaining evidence compelling. There have reportedly been over 10,000 reported Bigfoot sightings in the continental United States alone, with reports from every state except the island of Hawaii, funny enough. Bigfoot is also huge in popular culture, and has even been compared to Michael Jordan as a cultural icon. Bigfoot has many books about them, films, and is even in a lot of video games, and my personal favorite, he's on the face of Dr. Squatch. In Navajo culture, a skinwalker is a type of harmful witch who has the ability to turn into, possess, or disguise themselves as an animal. Animals associated with this witchcraft usually include the coyote and even deer. They might also possess living animals or people and walk around in their bodies. Skinwalkers may be male or female. In fact, even the famous werewolf that we all know is considered a skinwalker, popular from the European folklore. But are these skinwalkers even real? Skinwalkers are widely considered to be nothing more than stuff of legend, but that hasn't stopped sightings over the years. Over the years, there have been many sightings of shockingly fast animals running alongside moving cars. Sometimes, so the stories go, these animals will turn into men who will bang on the hood of the car. Ugh. In fact, there's actually a ranch in Utah called Skinwalker Ranch because there have been so many sightings. Originally owned by the Sherman family, residents of Skinwalker Ranch have been terrorized by animalistic creatures since the mid-1990s. According to legend, skinwalkers are known to leave a foul stench wherever they go, and apparently they like to hang out in graveyards while they dig up graves quickly. Skinwalkers can only be fought with magic, since they used to become a skinwalker in the first place. A blessing from a medicine man can prevent encounters with skinwalkers, and generally these medicine men are the only people who know the correct spells and rituals that can combat their dark magic. I'm actually going to show you one of these clips of these supposed skinwalker sightings. Here's the clip.
Just coming in from planting those trail cameras. There's vultures everywhere. It's odd.
Now, as you can clearly see in the video, the horse is definitely startled by something. Then again, this creature that said hey could be a crow or any kind of other bird. But just the way the horse was startled, it could be true. The Slender Man is a fictional supernatural character that originated as a creepypasta internet meme. He was created back in 2009 and is depicted as a thin, unnaturally tall humanoid with a featureless white head and face, wearing a black suit. The Slender Man soon went viral, spawning numerous works of fan art, cosplay, an online fiction known as creepypastas, which we all know that. In 2012, The Slender Man was adapted into a video game titled Slender: The Eight Pages. Within its first month of release, the game was downloaded over 2 million times. Several popular variants of the game followed, including Slenderman's Shadow and Slenderman for iOS, which became the second most popular app download. Early stories featured him targeting children or young adults. Some featured young adults driven insane or to act on his behalf, while others did not, and others claimed that investigating the Slender Man will draw his attention. But on May 31st, 2014, two 12-year-old girls in Waukesha, Wisconsin, if I pronounced that right, held down and stabbed a 12-year-old classmate 19 times. When questioned later by the authorities, they reportedly claimed that they wished to commit a murder as a first step to becoming proxies for the Slenderman, having read about it online. They also stated that they were afraid that Slenderman would kill their families if they did not commit the murder. After the perpetrators left the scene, the victim crawled out of the woods to a roadway. A passing cyclist alerted authorities, and the victim survived the attack. Both attackers have been diagnosed with mental illnesses, but have also been charged as adults and are each facing up to 65 years in prison. One of the girls reportedly said Slenderman watches her, he can read minds, and could teleport. This stabbing spawned a nationwide moral panic over Slenderman across the United States. Parents across the nation became worried about the potential dangers that stories about Slenderman might pose to their children's safety. After hearing the story, an unidentified woman from Cincinnati, Ohio, told a TV reporter in June 2014 that her 13-year-old daughter had attacked her with a knife and had written fiction, some involving the Slenderman, who the mother said motivated the attack. And on September 4th, 2014, a 14-year-old girl in Port Richey, Florida, allegedly set her family's house on fire while her mother and 9-year-old brother were inside. Police reported that the teenager had been reading online stories about Slenderman. And during a early 2015 epidemic of suicide attempts by young people ages 12 to 24 on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, Slenderman was cited as an influence. In 2018, there was actually a Slenderman movie, but it is really, really bad. In Ohio folklore, the Loveland Frog, also known as the Loveland Frogman or Loveland Lizard, is a legendary humanoid frog described as standing roughly 4 feet tall, allegedly spotted in Loveland, Ohio. In 1972, the Loveland Frog legend gained renewed attention when a Loveland police officer reported to a colleague that he had seen an animal consistent with descriptions of the Frogman. After a reported sighting in 2016, the second officer called a news station to report that he had shot and killed the same creature some weeks after the 1972 incident, and has identified it as a large iguana that was missing its tail. According to various legends, the creature was first sighted by a businessman or traveling salesman driving along an unnamed road late at night in 1955, with some various versions of the story specifying the month of May. In one story, the driver was heading out of the Branch Hill neighborhood when he spotted 3 figures stood erect on their hind legs along the side of the road, each 3 to 4 feet in height, with leathery skin and frog faces. In other versions of the story, the creatures were spotted under or over a poorly lit bridge, and one held a wand over its head that's fired a spray of sparks. This entry to me is so funny and bizarre at the same time. Like, I didn't even know iguanas could even get up to like 5 feet long. So I guess that's what it was, but you never know. The Flatwoods Monster, also known as the Braxton County Monster, in West Virginia folklore, is an entity reported to have been sighted in the town of Flatwoods in Braxton County on September 12, 1952, after a bright object crossed the night sky. 2 brothers and their friend said they saw a bright object cross the sky and land on the property of local farmer G. Bailey Fisher. The boys went home, where they told their story. Accompanied by the 3 boys was a West Virginia National Guardsman, and they went to Fisher Farm in an effort to locate whatever it was that the boys had said they seen. The group reached the top of a hill, where they said they saw a pulsing red light. The guardsman said he aimed a flashlight in that direction and momentarily saw a tall, man-like figure with a round red face surrounded by a pointed hood-like shape. The descriptions actually varied, and apparently it was approximately 10 feet tall, having small claw-like hands, clothing like folds, and a head that resembled the ace of spades. According to the story, when the figure made a hissing sound and glided toward the group, they screamed and dropped their flashlights, causing the group to run away. After investigating the case, the most obvious explanation is that the bright thing in the sky was definitely a meteor or a shooting star, and then the creature was most likely a barn owl. And also in the area, there were 3 flashing red aircraft beacons that were visible from the area of the sightings, which that could somehow explain the pulsating red light and the red tint on the face of the supposed monster. I don't know. Throughout the years, though, this town really went with the big story because, I mean, look at this chair. I mean, look at it. Ugh. And of course, there's even merchandise. This entry also takes place in West Virginia folklore. The Mothman is a humanoid creature reportedly seen in the Point Pleasant area from November 15th, 1966 to December 15th, 1967. On November 15th, 2 young couples from Point Pleasant, Roger and Linda Scarberry, and Steve and Mary Mallet, told police they had seen a large white creature whose eyes glowed red standing at the side of the road near the T&T area, the site of a former World War II munitions plant, and is described as a slender, muscular man about 7 feet tall with white wings, and said that she was unable to discern its face due to the hypnotic effect of its eyes. The witnesses drove away at speed and said that the creature flew after their car, making a screeching sound. It pursued him as far as Point Pleasant city limits. Due to the popularity of the Batman TV series at the time, the fictional superhero Batman and his rogues gallery were prominently featured in the public eye, while the villain Killer Moth, who is also very underrated by the way, did not appear in the show. The comic book influence of both him and Batman is believed by some to have influenced the coinage of the name Mothman in the local newspapers. Then on December 15th, 1967, the Silver Bridge collapsed and the death of 46 people occurred. The incident gave rise to the legend and connected the Mothman sightings to the bridge collapse. There is actually now an annual Mothman festival that has started since 2002, and someone even built a Mothman statue. I mean, just look at that. Like, good lord, this nightmare fuel. In Slavic folklore, Baba Yaga is a supernatural being who appears as a deformed, ferocious-looking woman. In the folklore record, Baba Yaga usually flies around in a mortar, wields a pestle, and dwells deep in the forest in a hut, usually described as standing on chicken legs. Baba Yaga may help or hinder those who encounter or seek her out and may play a maternal role. She also has associations with forest wildlife. She also steals, cooks, and eats her victims, who are usually children. She lives with 2 or 3 sisters, which are also all known as Baba Yaga, and her fence is topped with human skulls. And actually, in the movie John Wick, they give him a nickname, and the nickname is none other than Baba Yaga. I'm not sure why they called him this, because Baba Yaga is a female, but I guess they were just trying to call him the Boogeyman, because, well, you know, it's John Wick. Now I know what you're thinking. What is a TV man? And I have the exact same question. And apparently around 2019, this mysterious TV man would just leave old television sets on the front of people's porches. And yeah, that's literally it. That's all he did. And he apparently went to more than 50 homes and just put just old TV sets on people's porches. And there is a lot of footage that people recovered, and it is so funny to me. I unfortunately couldn't really find any other information because this is just like one-time thing, but the internet really loves it, and there's a lot of fan art, and I even found a Minecraft skin, so that's pretty cool. Indrid Cold, commonly known as the Smiling Man, is an allegedly humanoid entity. The nickname comes from the being's tendency to smile at almost everyone that encountered him. It is said that he still visits West Virginia to this day. Bro, why are all these things in West Virginia? The Grinning Man is reported to be human-like in appearance, though he is commonly associated with UFO activity and is sometimes believed to be an alien. It is also believed to be possible that he is connected with the Men in Black, which, if you don't know who those people are, they threaten UFO witnesses into silence. I mean, come on people, have you seen the movie? But anyway, the first sighting was on October 16th, 1966, when two boys in New Jersey were walking on 4th Street when they saw a surreal figure standing near a fence. As they walked closer, the figure was a tall, bald man wearing a metal green suit who was staring right at them with a huge grin. The man chased them until they got away from him. UFO sightings were also reported around the area. The second sighting was on November 2nd, 1966 in Parkersburg, West Virginia, which is actually around the same time as the Mothman came about. A man was driving his way home on Interstate 77 until he heard a crash. Then, an unidentifiable vehicle appeared to land in front of his truck. He described it as an old-fashioned kerosene lamp chimney flaring at both ends, narrowing down to a small neck and enlarging in a great bulge in the center. The Grinning Man came out of the vehicle with a dark tan and walked up to the man and telepathically said his name was Indrid Cold, and he meant no harm. Cold said he just wanted to know more about the human race, and he would visit Derenberger again, which is the man I'm talking about. After the encounter, the man stated that Cold revealed he was from the planet Lanulos? I'm not too sure. In the galaxy of Ganymedes, I don't know, some alien stuff. In the final sighting, which is during the same period in West Virginia, the Lilly family had been reporting poltergeist activity in their home, such as diamond-shaped lights. The Lilly's daughter, Linda, was sleeping one night and awoke to see a man standing over her. Jesus Christ, I would just know. To this day, people still really don't know who Indrid Cold is, but it is commonly believed that he's maybe an alien entity. It's supported by its close connection with UFO activity and such, or it could just be some paranormal activity, like a ghost perhaps. But, yep, still we have no idea. The Travis Walton UFO incident was an alleged alien abduction of American forestry worker Travis Walton by a UFO on November 5th, 1975, while he was working in the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest near Snowflake, Arizona. He was missing for 5 days and 6 hours. After days of searching with scent dogs and helicopters, Walton says he reappeared by the side of a road near Heber, Arizona. I am also sorry if I pronounced that wrong. The Walton case received mainstream publicity and remains one of the best-known alien abduction stories, while scientists consider it a hoax. He then told his psychiatrist a story about having been abducted by aliens, and the consensus is that Hill experienced false memory syndrome, in which therapy methods such as hypnosis lead to confabulations. Whatever that means. On October 20th, 1975, the NBC network aired The UFO Incident, a made-for-TV movie inspired by The Hills starring James Earl Jones. The film aired 2 weeks before the Travis Walton UFO incident, which led psychologist Susan Clancy to argue that this film influenced Travis Walton to present his own alleged abduction story. According to Walton and a number of other members from the logging crew he was working with at the time in the National Forest, he was riding in a truck with 6 of his co-workers, and they also allegedly encountered a saucer-shaped object hovering over the ground approximately 110 feet away, making a high-pitched buzz noise. Walton says that after he left the truck and approached the object, a huge beam of light suddenly appeared from the craft and knocked him unconscious. The other 6 men were supposedly frightened and drove away. Walton says that he awoke in a hospital-like room, being observed by 3 short, bald creatures. He says that he fought with them until a human wearing a helmet led Walton to another room, where he blacked out as 3 other humans put a clear plastic mask over his face. Walton has said that he remembers nothing else until he found himself walking along a highway 5 days later, with a flying saucer departing above him. Fun fact, shortly after this UFO event happened, the National Enquirer awarded Walton and his coworkers a $5,000 prize for Best UFO Case of the Year. And apparently they all passed the polygraph test, which... okay. What do you guys think? Is it a hoax, or could this also be real? Momo the monster, also known as the Missouri monster, is a ape-like creature which is actually very similar to Bigfoot that was allegedly sighted by numerous people in rural Louisiana, Missouri in 1971 and 1972. Witnesses described the creature as a large, bipedal humanoid with a pumpkin-sized head, about 7 feet tall, covered in dark hair that emits a putrid odor. The most well-known alleged sighting occurred on July 11, 1972, when 2 young boys were playing in the backyard on the rural outskirts of Louisiana, Missouri. Their older sister, Doris, was in the kitchen when she heard her brother screaming. When she looked out the window, she observed a massive, dark-haired, man-like creature holding what appeared to be a deceased dog. She described it as having a pumpkin-shaped head and large, growing, red eyes. And that's really freaky. Now, there's actually many other sightings that occurred that year, but most notably was local fire department chief and member of the city council, Richard Allen Murray, who reported driving along a creek bed when he saw a massive upright creature in his vehicle's headlights. As a result of these encounters, a 20-person posse was formed to hunt the creature, but nothing was ever found. In 2019, there was even a docudrama horror film which was entitled Momo the Missouri Monster, which was released and features a dramatization of the events of 1972. The film's cast includes Cliff Barackman and James Bobo Frey, who are actually best known for being on the TV show Finding Bigfoot on Animal Planet, which is actually pretty cool. And of course, when something bizarre happens, people always gotta make like a statue or a monument or something bizarre. And so the American theme park Six Flags over St. Louis had a ride that operated from 1973 until 1994, which was named after the creature. I'm not sure how you would even like explain like what this could even be. Like, surely it's not a bear, but the only conclusion I can come to is the bog monster from Louisiana. I'll show you a clip of it right now.
Get back! Get back! It's not a helmet. No! Look at the bog monster. Oh, what's he?
The Dark Watchers is a name given to a group of entities in California folklore. They have reportedly been seen observing travelers along the Santa Lucia Mountains. The Dark Watchers are described as tall, sometimes giant-sized, featureless dark silhouettes, often adorned with brim hats or walking sticks. They are most often reported to be seen in the hours around twilight and dawn. They are said to motionally watch travelers from the horizon along this mountain range. According to legend, no one has seen one up close, and if someone were to approach them, they disappear. Now, it is speculated that, and I apologize if I pronounce this wrong, that this is correlated to the Chumash people, which were inhabitants of the central and southern coastal regions of California, and they were Native Americans. But apparently nothing correlates with their mythology. And when Spanish settlers first moved into the area, they were said to have witnessed the Dark Watchers, which they dubbed as, and again, I'm sorry if I pronounce this wrong, Los Vigilantes Oscuros. So the fact that it dates back to many, many decades ago is just bizarre to me. Like, that is really creepy to me. But according to newspaper archives in the mid-1960s, a local and former high school principal went on a hiking trip in Santa Lucia's when he suddenly spotted a dark figure standing on a rock and surveying the area. When the principal called out to the other hikers, the creature vanished. After doing research, most people can explain it. It's probably like an illusion or hallucinations of people, which maybe, but what's interesting is there also could be an explanation with an optical illusion known as the broken spectra. A broken spectra can occur in certain atmospheric conditions when the sun is at a particular angle. The subject's shadow can be cast onto a cloud bank around them, creating the illusion of a large shadowy humanoid figure. These guys also remind me of that one meme about if you take too much Benadryl, you see the famous hat people, and people always put this famous image up. So, I guess we'll never know. Monkey Man of New Delhi, aka Kala Bandar, which means face scratcher in English, is an unknown monster which was reported to be roaming in Delhi in mid-2001. The entire incident has been described as an example of mass hysteria in India. In May of 2001, reports began to circulate in the Indian capital, New Delhi, around a strange, monkey-like creature that was appearing at night and attacking people. Eyewitness accounts were often inconsistent, but intended to describe the creature as about 4 feet, covered in thick black hair, with a metal helmet, metal claws, glowing red eyes, and 3 buttons on its chest. Some reports also claim that the Monkey Man wore roller skates. Others, however, described the Monkey Man as having a more vulpine snout and being up to 8 feet tall and muscular. Over 350 sightings of the Monkey Man were reported, as well as around 60 resulting injuries. 2 people even died when they leapt from the tops of buildings or fell down stairwells in a panic caused by what they thought was the attacker. And we also still don't know what a good explanation is. This is all the info that I could really find. I mean, there's not a lot of info about this strange monkey man that had razor claws, apparently. And it kind of looks like Moomin Rider a bit. But, yeah, we still have no idea. I mean, I don't even know how even I could explain what it could be. The Pascagoula abduction occurred in 1973 when co-workers Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker claimed that they were abducted by aliens while fishing near Pascagoula River, Mississippi. The case earned substantial mass media attention and is, alongside with the earlier Travis Hill abduction, among the best-known claims of alien abduction. The men described the creatures as being roughly humanoid in shape and standing above 5 feet tall. The creature's skin was pale in color and wrinkled like an elephant, and they had no eyes that the men could discern, and slits for mouths. Their heads also appeared connected directly to their shoulders with no discernible neck. There were 3 carrot-like growths instead, one where the nose would be on a human, and the other 2 where ears would normally be. The beings had lobster-like claws at the ends of their arms, and they seemed to have only 1 leg ending in elephant-like feet. Hickson also reported that the creatures moved in mechanical, robot ways. On the evening of October 11, 1973, both of the men were fishing off a pier on the west bank of the Pascagoula River in Mississippi when they heard a whirring, whizzing sound and saw 2 flashing blue lights and saw an oval-shaped object 30 to 40 feet across and 8 to 10 feet high. Parker and Hickson claimed that they were conscious but paralyzed, while 3 of the creatures emerged from the object and subjected them to an examination. Following the incident, Hickson gave interviews and lectures, and even appeared on television. In 1974, he claimed additional encounters with aliens, and in 1983, he published a book called UFO Contact at Pascagoula. He then later attended many UFO conventions, and in 1993 started a company called UFO Investigations to produce television stories about UFOs. Then sometime later, as a matter of fact, Hickson came out and said that the entire thing was one big hoax, because people were starting to point out different discrepancies in his story, and Hickson even refused to take a polygraph exam, so that raised a lot of more alarms, I guess. That's what people realized. And apparently he was in a initial waking dream state because he apparently passed out at the beginning of the incident and failed to regain consciousness until it was over. I don't know why he came out and said this now, but it was probably just a 5 minutes of fame kind of deal, I guess. Ningen are Arctic humanoid lifeforms inhabiting the icy waters of the Antarctic. These Ningen are reportedly observed on multiple occasions by crew members of government-operated whale research ships. These Ningen are said to be completely white in color with an estimated length of 20 to 30 meters. Witnesses describe them having a human-like shape, often with legs, arms, and even 5-fingered hands. Sometimes they are described as having fins or a large mermaid-like tail instead of legs, or even tentacles. The only visible or identifiable facial features are the eyes and mouth. According to one account, crew members on deck observed what they initially thought was a foreign submarine in the distance, and when they approached, however, it became clear from the irregular shape of the thing that it was not man-made, and it was alive. The creature quickly disappeared underwater. Ningen sightings seem to occur most frequently at night, making them all the more difficult to photograph. In still images, the sea cryptids mostly just look like ice, though it is said that their smooth, human-like skin can be seen when the photographs are enlarged. In any case, no convincing photographs have been made public either because they do not exist or because, as some argue, the government does not want to invite undue scrutiny and tarnish the scientific reputation of the whale research program. And currently at this time, there's nothing to prove that the Ningen is a hoax, but however, most of the photo evidence is either hoaxed or artistic interpretations. The most logical explanations is that these Ningen are probably misidentified whales, sharks and squids, or some unknown species of a giant manta ray, or simply just a very human-looking iceberg. I mean, people have no idea. In my opinion, these are probably like really, really huge beluga whales because from these descriptions, that's what it seems to most correlate with. Catalonia Fallen Angel was a strange humanoid cryptid that was on film in a forest near Catalonia, Spain. The sighting, judging by the camera timer, took place at 1:13 a.m. on June 11, 2006. I'm actually going to play the original clip in full because it's only a minute long, so take a look.
La última batería como queda. Tío, es que vas a flipar, ¿eh?
Claro, tócale como la cámara, tío, que es de aquí no ves.
Mira.
Me cago en Dios.
Es que, tío, yo qué sé, tío, se llaman plumas, tío. ¿Más o no? Home, tio, ja veus si se'n dins l'ull. Des de fa rato que se'n dins l'ull. Que sí, collons, que sí. Hòstia. Escolta. Ho sents o no? Puta, tio. Ei, va, corre, hòstia, va!
So this creature is obviously humanoid, and it's nearly skeletal as if it's suffering from anorexia. While the body is almost exactly identical to a human, it appears to possess glowing eyes, and its most defining features, however, are the growths emerging from its back that resemble featherless wings. I know the quality is really bad, but if you take a look at this picture, this seems to be like a giant wing. I may be wrong, but that's also what the internet is also telling me. So could this be a hobo or an undiscovered species? Or could this really be a fallen angel? Brazilian werewolf is a humanoid cryptid reportedly caught by a security camera in Ceilândia, a city in east-central Brazil. A possible explanation is that it could be another undiscovered species, a dog, bear, wolf, or other kind of wildlife, or it's all just one big hoax. In fact, though, Brazil is one of the South American countries known for believing that a human can become a lobisomem. I probably butchered that really bad, but that's just what it's called. Or werewolf if he's the seventh male child of the same father and mother. Some believe the change takes place when the boy turns 13. Variations have this happening on a Friday during Lent, or on a Friday the 13th during a full moon and only for 2 hours from midnight to 2 a.m., which is your pretty, cliche werewolf kind of movie. 2 attacks by a wolfman or dogman were reported in Brazil in 2008 and 2009. A woman in, I'm not even going to bother trying to pronounce that word, told police that she was attacked on January 28, 2009 by a big dog that stood on its hind legs and walked like a man. In 2008, police in, again, I'm not going to pronounce that word, received numerous reports of a half-man, half-wolf that was stealing sheep and breaking into houses. Yeah, that's very unpleasant, but to this day, we still have no idea. And actually, there's a little clip on YouTube, supposedly, and I'm gonna just play a bit of it right now. Black stickmen are a relatively recent phenomenon. People across the globe have been sighting these two-dimensional-like pitch-black beings. They appear to be two-dimensional, and their appearance always looks the same, no matter what the angle they are seen at. The heights of these stickmen can range from that of a normal human being to a giant, abnormal giant, pretty much. They reportedly make no sound and cast no shadow. Witnesses also claim that these figures are often charged with some sort of electricity. The most often reported being static electricity. Witnesses often claim that while encountering these beings, they feel a strange urge of aggression or agitation. It could be said that these beings exert some form of negative energy. It is also said that these stickmen walk in an odd, galloping motion, and some even float above the ground. I'm actually going to read off one of these quotes from one of the witnesses that saw one of these black stick men. In 1982, when I was a student nurse at Worley Hospital, Brentwood in Essex, England, I encountered a stick person in the grounds of the hospital as I was walking home one night. It lopped across the roadway, having been, seemingly, pressed up against a wall. It stopped when it saw me and raised its arms in fright and quickly walked off into the undergrowth. It was very tall, with very thin, extremely long arms and legs and a very small oval head. Totally black and no obvious clothing. I saw no face, even though it emerged very near a street lamp and so was well illuminated. I was terrified, and to this day, no one believes me. I'm sure I would also be afraid if I saw one of these giant, two-dimensional, gargantuan stickmen. I mean, just look at this picture. I mean, how would you not be afraid? And again, there's not really an explanation on what this creature is, so it's most likely a hoax, or it could just be someone's shadow somehow that got really, really huge. The city of Toronto once had numerous streams and waterways that, as the city expanded, were built over and became a network of underground waterways buried beneath the city and merging with the sewer systems. The Algonquian tribes of Canada spoke of man-like hairy creatures that thrived in these rivers before they were hidden away from the public. In 1978, a similar monkey-like creature was sighted living in an underground tunnel in Toronto. It is believed to be that this tunnel monster is none other than the Native American Meme-Gwesi. Meme-Gwesi are small water spirits that are usually said to inhabit rivers or riverbanks in Algonquian mythology. Most often, Meme-Gwesi are described as being child-sized and hairy with a large head and a strange voice that sounds like the whine of a dragonfly. Meme-Gwesi are said to carve symbols on rocks and sometimes carve small canoes for themselves out of stone. So when Toronto buried many of its river systems, luring them into underground tunnels, were the Meme-Gwesi buried with them. The Toronto city builders actually tried to get rid of these rivers, but it's actually very, very difficult to do so. And many of the waterways that once penetrated downtown Toronto still exist, rerouted into underground culverts or underground sewers hidden away from the public. In August of 1978, a Toronto man entered one of these sewer tunnels because he lost one of his kittens. One of these kittens disappeared into one of these dark tunnels, and this is where the man said he saw a living nightmare that he'll never forget. The man was armed with only a flashlight, and he encountered a creature of unknown origin. He described the monster as long and thin, almost like a monkey, 3 feet long, large teeth, weighing maybe 30 pounds with a slate gray fur, but its eyes were the ones that truly stood out because they were orange and red slanted. Then the man said that the creature told him to go away, in a hissing voice. Then it took off down a long tunnel off to the side. I got out of there as fast as I could, he said. I was shaking with fear. The man said that he was actually afraid to even go to the media or a news station to even talk about this encounter because they would probably just push it off or call him crazy. Even though his story sounded very strange, sewage employees did not ridicule or scoff at it according to the report made by the newspapers at the time. One worker who was quoted in the paper stated, "People who work on the surface just don't know what it's like down there. It's a whole different world. Who would have thought a few years ago that people would live in sewers? And yet, that's what they found in New York a few years back." Another was quoted as saying, "I don't know what the man saw down there. I'll tell you one thing, if we could get in there, I sure wouldn't want to go down there alone." Now, this could this whole thing could probably be some hobo man that's really, really hairy, or somehow a monkey got loose, or maybe it's just one of his, maybe it was another cat. But even the sewage employees were saying, hey man, yeah, there's there's a lot of freaky stuff going on down there. Michelin men, or balloon men, are a type of possibly extraterrestrial cryptid that have been reported on rare number of occasions throughout the world. These entities were dubbed with these names due to their similarity in appearance to the popular Michelin Man mascot. In May of 1960, Antonio Ribera was at a crossroads and he was returning from a motorcycle trip when he discerned a strange human-like being about 150 meters away on a short, steep uphill incline of the highway that is ahead of him. It describes the being as follows. He was completely red from head to foot and suddenly appeared at the edge of the highway, rather tall, something like 2 meters or more, having trouble walking, and his walking was like a mechanical doll. This is to say, like a robot with stiff arms. After stopping his motorcycle, he saw the humanoid was walking on the edge of the road, and before going 6 steps, another individual of similar characteristics appeared and followed him. Like his predecessor, he appeared suddenly. The second humanoid wasn't as tall, and though he was dressed in red, he had one difference with respect to his predecessor. He had a black boot. The two humanoids then crossed the highway at an angle, and Ribera saw the ringed outlines of the beings, with the classic shape of the Michelin Men. Ribera decided to get closer, while he debated with himself over the danger entailed in his decision, so he again started up his vehicle. On reaching the curve in the highway to head toward the slope where the humanoids were located, they had disappeared in the same mysterious manner that they had appeared. In 2015, however, there was a radio show called The Paranormal Arcane, and it received this following letter. Hello, when I was in my early teens, I witnessed something that I have never been able to explain. This occurred in northern Minnesota. I have included a picture of what it looked like to me. I was in the woodlot behind the barn around 9 p.m. It was in July 1971, and I was out there with my collie dog, Bonnie. Bonnie started barking and running towards the far edge of the woods. I called for her, but she continued running. I started to chase after her. As I got nearer to the small field, Bonnie was laying down looking towards the sky. I looked in the same direction and saw a bright yellow light coming towards us. The light got brighter and larger. Bonnie barked a few more times and ran back into the woods. She was scared. Well, I was scared also. The light was hovering above me. I felt paralyzed. I wanted to run, but just couldn't move. I looked at the light and started to make out a shape. I have always said that it was a balloon man. It was round in the body and segmented leg and arms. The head was a bright yellow light. I couldn't see a face, just a bright, blinding light. It hovered for a minute, then moved towards me. It was right in front of me. I'd say it was 8 foot tall and very wide. There was an intense heat coming from it also. I had trouble breathing and was very uncomfortable. Then it started to hover and circle around me. I thought I was going to pass out. Then suddenly it just disappeared, simply vanished. As soon as it did, I dropped to the ground and started shivering. I could move, but I was so cold and felt weak and sick. I laid there for a long time. I heard my mom calling out, and then Bonnie was beside me barking. My mom was frantic and tried to get to my feet. I couldn't stand. I was just too weak to move. Soon my older brothers showed up and they carried me to the house. I was sick in bed for about a week. The doctor said I had severe reaction to poison sumac, which I know wasn't correct. I had a sore red rash on my face and arms. The balloon man burned me somehow and had weakened me. After I recuperated, I told my mom what had happened. She was surprised by what I described. She knew I didn't have poison sumac, but she didn't question the doctor. I never told anyone else about my contact with the balloon man, but I told my brothers not to go into that far field at night. They just laughed. Was this a UFO or an alien? Your email was on an extraterrestrial forum, so I thought I'd write you. I still live near the farm, and there have been a few UFO reports in the area, according to people I know nearby. Thank you for your attention. The Sandown Clown was a strange being encountered by two young children vacationing at Lake Common, Sandown, Isle of Wight in the UK of May of 1973. Following a sound like an ambulance siren, the children wandered across a footbridge over a stream and met a curious, unidentifiable being that has been described as a cross between a clown, a robot, and an alien. It was a shy but friendly being and spoke kindly to the children for almost half an hour before they returned to their parents. It seemingly vanished after the encounter and has never been seen again. The clown itself looks very human-like, but it actually only has 3 fingers on each hand and 3 toes on each foot. Even his head was a nearly perfect spear, and his face was oddly painted on. He was even described of having 2 wooden antennas stuck out from the sides of its head, while there was other wooden slat-like antennas extended from its wrist and ankle. It seemed to be wearing some type of clown costume, which consisted of a tall pointed hat with a black knob or bauble at the top, and a high-collared suit of red and green, to which the hat was at first attached, but was later removed by the being to show its white and apparently balding scalp. It wore dark blue gloves, but his feet were bare. The suit's trousers and sleeves were long and frilly. Whether the wooden antennas were part of the costume or not, or part of the being's body, we don't know. It also seemed to be carrying a microphone system through which it spoke, and which is believed to be the source of the ambulance-like siren heard by the children. It's said it lived in a 2-story hut or shack in a wooded area close to the lake, whose walls were papered with blue-green dial patterns and whose floors were metallic. The hut also contained rough wooden furniture, which was described as being similar to a table and a set of chairs. Now, the clown was very friendly, but very shy. It told the children it was frightened of humans and would not defend itself if it were attacked. It claimed to drink water from the stream after cleaning it and gathered wild berries, which it ate in a very odd manner by thrusting its head forward and somehow moving the berries back and forth between its eyes and then down its mouth. It could write in English using a pencil and paper. Upon being asked, it told the little girl that its name was Sam and that it was all colors. When asked if it were human, it said it was not. When asked if it were a ghost, it is reported to have answered, "Well, not really, but I am in an odd sort of way." And of course, after all this happened, the kids went and told their parents what happened, and of course, they did not believe them. But me personally, kids, this is such a specific thing that they were definitely not lying. I don't know how they would even come up with this. And most of the time, kids always tell the truth. Possible explanations could be could be a guy in a clown costume, or maybe even a robot, because of the way it had the microphone system and the way it was weirdly eating, very robotic-like. But after this entire incident, we still don't know what happened to the Sandown Clown. The Manta Man is a strange, flying humanoid creature seen in northern Chile. It has 4 limbs, 2 of which have large manta ray fin-like membranes connecting them to the creature's body, like wings, and it's very vicious and has been seen devouring dogs. The first sighting of this strange being occurred on September 29, 2013. An anonymous witness claimed to have seen the creature rise from the tree line in the Bustamante Park in Santiago de Chile. When asked to describe the animal, the witness claimed it was about 6 feet tall and looked very much like a manta ray. However, resembled a gargoyle. I'm sorry, it's just Bustamante. I probably pronounced that really wrong, but I'm gonna stick with it. However, resembled a gargoyle in that it possessed leather. Oh my god, it possessed wings. This witness under the bro, I can't talk. Later sketched the anomaly. The aviation oddity was cited many more times in Chile after the initial sighting, such as another anonymous witness spotting the creature in the Alpine Los Barrenechea commune, and later even being reported hanging around in a church tower in Santiago. People think this might be some kind of dinosaur species that's still alive, or an alien, but my personal opinion is that it's probably a distant relative of the Mothman, which we talked about earlier. Or it could just be the killer moth guy from Batman, and he's in the real world now. I don't know. But apparently these also possess weird kangaroo-like faces. Very weird, and this is pretty much all the info I can find. The Also One sighting was an extraterrestrial sighting that took place on the afternoon of October 25th, 1974. The witness was a 41-year-old oil well driller, husband and father of four, Carl Higdon, who decided to take the day off to hunt elk in the northern region of Medicine Bow National Park, which is located just 40 miles south of his home. Upon encountering a group of elk, Higdon silently raised his heavy rifle, put his eye to the sight, and took aim to the largest male. As soon as Higdon pulled the trigger of his magnum, he was astounded by the fact that there was no kickback from the rifle. What was even more weird was the fact that the detonation was absolutely silent. Higdon claimed that he was actually able to watch as a bullet left the barrel of his rifle and soared forward so slowly that it looked as if it were traveling through a wall of invisible jello. And then this bizarre alien slowly approached the terrified Higdon and asked him, "How you doing?" What the heck? The hunter admitted that he was trying to stay calm when he weakly responded, "Pretty good." The extraterrestrial, oh my god, I can't talk, inquired whether or not Higdon was hungry, but before he could respond, the creature sent a small, cleared package floating toward him, which contained 4 pills. Okay. The strange jawless humanoid then introduced himself as Also One. That was when Higdon's gaze caught a strange box-like object catching the sun rays in the clearing behind the strange creature. Intrigued by the awe at which Higdon was staring at was its ship, the alien then asked the hunter, "Do you want to come along?" Higdon shrugged his shoulders, and it was at this point in time that he appeared to leap forward, as Higdon's next recollection was of being inside the cube-like craft. Higdon later recalled being given a tour of Also One's home planet. Okay then. This entity appeared 6 feet tall, and he was in a skin-tight black one-piece outfit that Higdon claimed was similar to a wetsuit scuba divers wear. Atop the suit was a pair of harness-like straps that crisscrossed his chest, below which was a metallic belt adorned with a large yellow 6-pointed star. Beneath the star was an insignia that the outdoorsman could not identify. The creature possessed a lipless, slit-like mouth that concealed 3 exceptionally large teeth on the top and bottom, a pair of antennas, and most alarmingly to the hunter was a face that blended directly into its neck. So this guy had no neck, had no lips, pretty freaky, to say so myself. I mean, just look at this picture. I mean, I would pee myself. Like, bro. And I'm pretty sure this is the one and only sighting. So either this actually happened, many consider it a hoax, but there's actually no evidence to support it even is a hoax. I don't know how you even explain that one. But, yeah, this guy just must be on something, because, I mean, bro was seeing things in slow motion. So, I guess we'll never know. The Crimean Slug sighting is an extraterrestrial sighting that took place on November 18, 1998 in Crimea, Russia. 4 boys from the local elementary school had gone out of the school building to use the toilet. On their way there, they heard a strange guttural sound coming from behind them, and looking back, they saw a strange humanoid entity climbing over the fence. The alien then approached one of the boys and put its hand on his shoulder. The boy felt neither heaviness nor pain and tried to push it away. The boys noticed that the entity had some type of device with a button attached to its elbow. The alien then pressed the button with its clawed finger, and immediately the alien was sucked through the wall of the school building. Only the entity's red eyes could still be seen on the wall. The boy's skin turned red on the place where the entity had touched him, but he felt no pain or burning sensation. The entity was approximately 1.7 meters in height. The alien had a large head, not in proportion to its body, 2 huge red eyes, and a square flat body. Its long arms touched the ground and ended in 3 clawed black fingers. The legs of the entity were black and straight. The rest of its body was semi-transparent, smoke in color. The boys noticed neither hair, nor mouth, ears, nor nose. And to this day, nobody ever saw the creature again. Cloak Man of Clifton Heights, or referred to as the Cloak Woman of Clifton Heights, was a strange humanoid entity reported several times near Philadelphia in 1916. The creature was always described as an androgynous figure dressed in a long dark cloak that obscured most of its body, and it was either described as a man or a woman depending on the witness. On Saturday night on November 23rd, shortly before 11 o'clock, Joseph Austin of Berkeley Avenue was accompanying a young woman to her home. While walking on Walnut Street near Fairview Avenue, a tall person wearing a long black cloak and a hood stepped in front of Austin and the young woman. He pushed his long hands into the young man's face and muttered something inaudible. Austin's hair raised his hat, while the young lady was badly frightened by the sudden appearance of the cloaked person, who did not harm the couple but turned swiftly and fled. Austin, after accompanying the young woman to her home, returned to Baltimore Avenue, where he informed Chief McGowan. The news spread quickly, and in less than 10 minutes, several hundred men started a hunt for the cloak man, but he was not found. Several young men did locate a cloaked person in a small orchard on Walnut Street and Fairview Avenue, but the mysterious one dashed out of the place and soon disappeared. Despite the Chief of Police McGowan's best efforts, the cloak man was never captured. Now, this probably would have been like some kind of prankster, or maybe it could even be the Grim Reaper. But again, to this day, nobody knows exactly what happened. In Joplin, Missouri, on May 22, 2011, a giant deadly tornado ravaged the city. During this tornado, people were saying how they saw butterfly people and they helped them survive the disaster. After the destruction and the wind died down, the children who survived the storm began telling these family members, friends, and relatives what they had seen. Some said that the butterfly people protected them during the storm. There are many versions of the story, but the St. Louis Post-Dispatch reports that there were two general accountings of the sightings. The basis for both accounts is the same. On one account, the tornado sped toward the child and parent, but the child saw a butterfly person hovering over them and protecting them. In both stories, the parent and child escaped unharmed. As the report spread, more and more children came forward and said that they too had seen the butterfly people. Some say they believed the butterfly people were angels. Others called her an indescribable being. After this incident happened, all these kids and other people started drawing what they saw about these butterfly people, and it's really cool. And I believe they also made a big mural titled The Butterfly Effect, and it inspires people to do a good job, is what the artist said. I think the only really explanation that can come out of this is that these were like guardian angels, which I myself, a religious person, actually do believe that angels do exist. So this could possibly be one of those instances, or maybe they really are like actual butterfly people. And once again, like the Sandown Clown incident, this happened with kids, and again, as I said, kids usually probably would not lie about this stuff, especially if there's like more than one kid that saw these butterfly people. But I don't know, this story is just really cool to me.